Hey friends, it's Ian Khan here at the Milken Global Conference 2025, and I've got with me Dipal Doshi from Entrada Therapeutics to help us understand the therapeutics industry and what are they innovating in that space. Dipal, welcome to the Futurist.
Thanks, Ian.
You know, you're a CEO of a therapeutics company. There's a lot happening in therapeutics. Help us understand the beginnings of Entrada Therapeutics. Where did they start? And what is the journey so far?
Sure, yeah. So Entrada in Portuguese actually means opening. And so when this company was brought to me, it was just an idea. And what that idea was, which I was shocked to understand, is that we really truly don't fundamentally know how therapeutics get into the cells and then get back to where they're supposed to go, which was kind of shocking to me. And Entrada was started with that belief that we had this new technology that allowed us to get different types of cargo, in this case therapeutics, into the cell and then direct them to where they needed to go. And so 8 years later, where we are today is we have a whole host of diseases that we're going after. They're all therapeutics. They're all really focused on what we call functional cures. And what they're able to do within our first array of diseases, which is a muscular disease called Duchenne muscular dystrophy, is that we're able to help restore a protein that is either missing or degenerated. And so today we're in clinical trials in Europe for this first disease. We also have another disease that we're going after called myotonic dystrophy type 1, which is another muscle disease where it's an atrophying of the muscles. And we partnered with one of the world's leading biotech companies, Vertex Pharmaceuticals. So we're partnered with them there. But that's really kind of the tip of the spear for Entrada.
Okay, so as an organization, what expertise do you bring to a cure, right?
Yeah.
It's going to convert into some kind of a drug, into a pharmaceutical industry. Are you at the research phase? You're the folks who are researching what's working, what's not?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're actually a little bit past that. So we started with the research phase where it was more around a scientific curiosity, like, oh, can we actually get a therapeutic to the muscle, right, to your bicep
Right.
or to your wherever. And when we realized that we could do that in mice, you start to expand and you do it in more mice, you do it in different types of animals. And so today we're actually really excited. We announced this a couple weeks ago. We're now, running these trials in patients. And the whole goal of this is to say, these are patients that have Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Can we help them functionally with the day in and day out issues that they have within their diseases?
Yeah. What are you seeing in terms of the availability of a patient base that can come on a clinical trial? Because it's difficult.
Yes.
You're trying to solve a rare disease and there are just less few people out there.
Yeah, by definition, right?
Right?
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a very good point. And I think this is where these rare diseases have these remarkable patient advocacy groups, and these are very structured, very knowledgeable, very informed, very driven groups of people that act on behalf of the patients and their families. And so we partner up with the patient advocacy groups. We also have our own, we talk to the key opinion leaders or the treating physicians worldwide, and that's how we really kind of target the patient. Because they're treating these patients, or they have a brother or a son or an uncle that has these diseases. But it's a very, very granular way of trying to identify these patients.
That's the hard work,
That's
right?
very hard.
The hard
It's very
work.
hard to do.
I mean, if you look at ALS being one
Sure.
of these rare issues that people face, and the progression of a disease can be so fast that you do not have time to
Correct.
engage with the patient and reach them and then make them part of the clinical trial. How do we solve this problem? How?
I think we have to go early. We have to go, especially within these diseases that have a genetic mutation. There's something called newborn screening, where whenever a baby is born, they're given a bunch of tests to understand what genetic issues they may be predisposed to have.
Yeah.
We need to expand that. We need to expand that in all 50 states. Then we need to go internationally with that so that we understand what a new mom or new dad or whomever is bringing into this world, so that we can help that person or help that baby. If we can't do that, we still need to go earlier on in the onset of the disease. In Duchenne muscular dystrophy, it mostly starts as a pediatric disease, and then and it's mostly boys and young men, they progress, and eventually they succumb. Most of them succumb to some type of cardiac event, which leads to, their own demise, right? What if we can get to them really, really early, at say 1 year old, 2 years old, we have the ability then to really impact the future of that disease. And that's one disease, right? As you talk about ALS and these other progressive neurodegenerative diseases, they all have markers. I'm not saying it's easy, it's very, very difficult, but the earlier we can interact, the earlier we can disrupt the progression of that disease.
So that's amazing. Right now, we do not have, genetic testing or at that level.
Right.
No, I don't know if anybody does it unless you're privately doing it. You're like, hey, I want to get my kid, tested for all of these things. And it's not just at that stage. Even at any stage of life, I think it's advisable that maybe you should get tested on to seeing what are you susceptible to, what does your DNA tell you. Like, there's many tests out there. How do we make sense as an average person? How can I say, okay, I'm going to do a test that tells me what diseases am I susceptible to? What would those be right now?
I think it's a slippery slope, right? Because you could do, a lot of people do these whole body PET scans.
Exactly.
23andMe is a great example of a company that was started on that basis. But not everything is bad, right? So if you have an elevated this or low this, that doesn't mean that you're going to get X disease. I think all of us, right? All of us are guilty of going on Google or whatever and typing things in. I think it's really that interaction with the physician, right? And so I think for us, what we do is with the diseases we're going after, the physicians still know the best, right? But they listen, and they have to listen to an informed consumer in this regard, right? When we think about some of these, but I think it's a slippery slope, because not everything will mean that you're going to get, cancer or a neurodegenerative disease. So information, as much as it's really important, in a vacuum it becomes dangerous, as we know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all for awareness of what is happening, what is changing, what research is talking about, what companies like you are, your company, what are you working on? I think it's that age and era where you can't just be isolated so much that one day you walk into your doctor's office and the doctor says, hey, by the way, there's something wrong with you, and it hits you as a ton of bricks. I think information is available, awareness is available, read more, understand how the world is working, right? How does technology play a part in what you do?
It's huge. It's all about data. It's all about data. And when we start to think of things like AI and areas where there's just, I don't even know what's above a terabyte, right? But like terabytes on terabytes of data, those data have patterns. And I think we've done a great job in the past 10 years of innovating around utilizing data within clinical trials, within drug discovery, within drug development, and piecing those patterns together so that we can actually take those data points over a long period of time, because that's important too. It can't just be a moment in time. You have to see where it started and, of course, where it ended, and started to understand what those patterns look like, and then take those data sets and then define what a drug may be, right? In the therapeutic space, or let's call it an intervention, what an intervention may be. I think that's super, super exciting. And we're getting there. We're not there yet, but we're starting to see there's a lot of venture funding around AI-driven drug discovery, but it really comes down to how do you sift out all these data sets, have the right algorithms and data endpoints that go into that, so that you really understand how to leverage those data and drive that to some type of functional cure.
Yeah, of course.
It's an exciting time.
I know, exactly. Last question, what's your outlook for the next few years? If you had a magic wand, what would you make happen right away that would be incredible as an outcome?
Cool. I need a lot of magic wands. I think in my space, I'll just bring it back to us. I think what drives those who work for Entrada is that we're a very mission-driven company. we also believe that it doesn't matter what your economic status is, where you live, it's the accessibility of a therapeutic to help one's life. And it should be, in my opinion, even though we're not a nonprofit company, we need to do better in making those accessible to everyone.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Dipal. We really appreciate you sharing these insights with us on a very complex industry and an area of life that affects everybody.
Yeah.
We all are, this is not some random stuff. This is everyday life right here. But thank you. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ian. I appreciate
Thanks
the
for
time.
joining us. Thank
All
you.
right.